Hi everybody, welcome to the second set of video notes for your worm unit. So this set is going to focus strictly on phylum Annelida, which are your segmented worms like this cute little earthworm we see here. So let's talk about then some general characteristics of segmented worms. First of all, just like the other worm phyla we've discussed, they are triploblastic, meaning they have 3 tissue layers to their body. Secondly, though, and this part's different, they are coelomate. So they have that true coelom that many other advanced organisms like ourselves have. Next, they have something called metamerism or unspecialized segmentation. So this is the first worms we're seeing with true segments. The tapeworms, they kind of look like they're segmented, but they really are not classified as being truly segmented worms. So we are now in fully segmented worms. And they also have something called setae, and that's one or more pairs on their sections that they have. And you see it in this picture here on this worm. They're all those little hairs that stick out. And earthworms actually do have these as well. They only have very few, but there are some worms in this phyla that have a ton of setae. All right, as you can see already, our body systems are very much more detailed than the previous worm phyla. So when we talk about our external features, we're losing that cuticle, that hardened outside of the worm. Instead, we have an epidermis that actually has a mucus gland surrounding it. Also new is the fact that there are both longitudinal and circular muscles, which allow an inchworm to do just that. It inches as it crawls. Digestively, they also have a complete system like the roundworms with a mouth and an anus, but this time there's more evolved organs. So there's something called a pharynx, a crop, and a gizzard, and these organs help with the overall digestion process, and this is much more complex than any of the phyla we've studied so far. In terms of circulatory, this is the first time we're really seeing the kind of makings of a heart-type structure. So they do have a dorsal and ventral aorta, as well as vessels in between. Nervous system-wise, they have that ganglia and those nerve cords, but earthworms and other annelids also have sense organs that help them sense different chemicals, gravity, and touch in general. Lastly, they are dioecious, which roundworms were as well, but most species actually have external fertilization, and some worms, like earthworms, actually copulate. So they actually mate in a pretty kind of elaborate process for a simple organism. So now we get into the structure. So as you can tell right away, the structure is much more complex than the other worms that we've looked at so far. So now's a good time to pause and either copy down this diagram or label the diagram on your notes for both the external and the internal. And then this picture over here is actually showing 2 earthworms mating. So earthworms and other annelids have something called a clitellum, which you see in this structure here. So the clitellum is on the outside of the earthworm, and it's where they connect when they're mating. Also important to note, the mouth is closer to the clitellum than the anus is. So when we get to earthworms and we're doing dissections, you're gonna have to figure out which end is which. The mouth is closer to the clitellum. Also, there's some of these organs I talked about previously. So the pharynx is here. You see your crop there, gizzard there, and then you also have intestines that run down the length of the worm. All right, in terms of diversity, there are 3 main classes that we're going to focus on for annelids. So we have class Aurantia, which are marine species, and they burrow in sand or coral. These are things like sandworms, bloodworms, and fireworms, like this guy over here. So this red worm over there is a fireworm. Class Sedentaria are marine species, tube-dwelling, and an easy way to sedentaria, think of like sedentary, you don't move very much. So these live in tubes. They don't crawl all around like you would think of when you think of a worm. Lastly is class Clitellata, and these are your terrestrial worms. So far we had marine, 2 different classes of marine species, but this is your terrestrial worms, and they have that clitellum, hence their name, class Clitellata. And they also have few or no setae. So if you remember those like little bristles we talked about earlier, they don't really have very many of these or none at all. And these are animals like earthworms and leeches. All right, so leeches, these are so cool, but not that I would ever want to get bitten by one, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. They do have 2 suckers. So they have an anterior sucker with the mouth, and it actually has like a razor blade like mouth that'll like scrape your skin to get to your blood. And then they have a posterior sucker, which is just used for attachment. So pretty cool. Their salivary gland contains something called hirundin, which is to prevent your blood from clotting. Because normally if you get something like a wound or an injury, it breaks open, your body's like, oh, the blood has to clot, we have to stop this injury. Well, they release this to where your blood won't clot and they can continue sucking your blood. So in the 19th century, bloodletting was super common and leeches were used for this. But present day, some doctors are still using leeches. So snake bites to help with the venom, reattaching something that has a lot of vascular tissue. So like if you lose a finger or your ear, if you've ever watched any plastic surgery shows on TV, when people have like nose jobs or things like that, they'll actually sometimes attach leeches to make sure the skin doesn't die. So they are very useful still in medicine, of course, under the proper supervision. So for the rest of this, we're done with the actual notes part, but I do want to play this little clip for you about leeches and what they are being used for in medicine. All right, and we're gonna stop there. So that is all for your notes.